Welcome back to PandaAudioBooks. Today is a historic moment for the channel and the series. We have officially reached chapter 250 of The Legend of Swordsman. In our last episode, Jian Wushuang defied the laws of physics, cutting through the crushing gravity of Sovereign Atlas. Now, he stands at the absolute base of the Eclipse Pillar, the monolith that bridges the gap between the mortal and the divine. Today, the clock stops. Chapters 246 through 250 bring us face to face with the final and most terrifying of the three primal sovereigns, Sovereign Chronos, the master of time. In this time dilation field, a single sword swing can take a century, or a second can last 1,000 years. Wushuang must find the present moment within his sword Dao to strike an enemy who exists in the past and the future simultaneously. The ultimate rescue mission reaches its climax. Chapter 246 starts right now. Chapter 246, On the Heartless Island. The triple kill sword had already been a superior third-grade magic weapon since its sword spirit awakened. Since then, he had killed 5 experts of Yin-Yang Void Realm from the 9 Emperors sect, the exceptional Yang Void Realm Ku-Ya, as well as killed many in a several-day successive massacre directed towards Bloodfeather Tower stronghold. In the wake of the numerous massacres, the triple kill sword had become more ruthless. One step further and it would become a magic weapon of the 2nd grade. In the following days, he would continue the bloodbath in the strongholds of Bloodfeather Tower. One by one, with each endless kill, the frantic bloodbath would strengthen the power of triple kill sword. On the eve before the 18th of the 12th month of the lunar year, the triple kill sword made a breakthrough, leveling itself up from a superior 3rd grade to an inferior 2nd grade and strengthening its power. Thereafter, Jian Wushuang had prepared all that he could, including his personal strength. For the entirety of that night, he quietly sat on a hill. The next morning, the sun had not yet risen on the horizon, but heavy snow fell from the sky. Soon, the heavy snow covered the ground in a white sheet. After sitting on the hill for a whole night, Jian Wushuang opened his eyes, filled with light. It's snowing. Jian Wushuang stretched out one hand and a snowflake fell onto his palm. Soon after, it turned into a drop of water. The snow is beautiful. Jian Wushuang looked around with a smile. The snow would be more charming if it was mixed with blood. My dear, today, let us enjoy a bloodbath. It seemed the triple kill sword understood what Jian Wushuang said, and it trembled fiercely on his back. As though it was excited. As though it was surprised. Jian Wushuang set off to Heartless Island. On the 18th of the 12th lunar month, it snowed heavily. The whole Qianzhong dynasty was covered by white snow, causing the ground to become a vast and endless white sheet. Heartless Island was located 100 miles away from the imperial palace of the Qianzhong dynasty. Situated in the center of a vast lake and surrounded by hills, Heartless Island was famous in Qianzhong dynasty. It was said that the place where the Heartless Island was located was once a rift. Years ago, 2 super experts had a fierce fight there and left a huge ravine in the ground, which water gathered into and formed a lake. This left the central piece of land to turn into an island. Today, the atmosphere in the Heartless Island was different. Many figures stood at nearly every corner of the island, and they all wore black robes and masks. Not only that, but all of the masks were golden. Above the void, some purple-masked killers from Bloodfeather Tower welcomed the experts and also acted as guardians watching over all of them. In other words, one could say that the entirety of Heartless Island was now heavily guarded. At dawn, experts from different sects arrived on the island. 1 month ago, Bloodfeather Tower had sent its invitations. All of the sects who received the invitations did not dare refuse and all sent their experts. The 7 top clans in the Qianzhong dynasty, even Dragon Palace, and the Gladiator Arena, all had their experts go forth. Soon many experts gathered on the island and there was quite a clamor. There was a big drill ground in the center of the island. Many chairs were arranged in rows on 2 sides of the drill ground. Experts from all of the sects of Qianzhong dynasty were sitting on their chairs quietly. Brother Ling Feng, how was it decided that we from the Qianyuan sword sect were to sit here? At a corner of the drill ground's very edge, experts of Qianyuan sword sect were seated. Among the nearly 10 experts, there was one lady with a cold expression on her face. She was Jian Meng'er, and her current expression was strange. The Qianyuan sword sect is a big sect in Qianyang province, but it is nothing special in the Qianzhong dynasty. It's an honor to be invited by Blood Feather Tower, even if you're seated at the corner. Ling Feng explained. Is it? Jian Meng'er still frowned. Ling Feng, the sect master of Qianyuan Sword Sect, an elder with white hair and a baby face, turned and said to Ling Feng, "It's the highest level meeting in the Qianzhong dynasty and all the experts of those strong sects have come. Later on, I'll introduce you to them to expand your knowledge." Thank you. Ling Feng nodded respectfully. In the most conspicuous area of the drill ground, 10 figures were seated. Among them, the lead one was a strong man over 2 meters high and as strong as an ox. He was the hall master of the gladiator arena. What I'm most looking forward to with this gathering is Jian Wushuang. When will he show up? The strong man looked around and smiled. I'm quite curious about the exceptional genius. Bai Chong, I heard you knew him? The strong man looked over at an armless middle-aged man. Jian Wushuang would recognize him as soon as he saw the middle-aged man. He was Bai Chong, who once gave him a lucky opportunity when he was in the mansion of the Sword Marquis and saved him from the killers of Blood Feather Tower. Hearing what the strong man said, Bai Chong couldn't help but touch his left sleeve. His left arm was cut off while stopping the killers of Blood Feather Tower for Jian Wushuang. However, he didn't give up because of this, but rather fought against it, and he unexpectedly broke through the bottleneck that had always trapped him, reaching Yin Void Realm. A little, Bai Chong replied. I really admire him. If he can survive this time, introduce him to me, the strong man said with a smile. Okay. Bai Chong nodded, but then he frowned. He knew that the danger Jian Wushuang was facing this time was no small matter. Blood Feather Tower had set a trap and had extensively prepared in order to kill Jian Wushuang. On the drill ground, apart from the experts of the sects, there were also many solitary experts who had come without invitation simply for the enjoyment. Among the solitary experts, there was one gentleman with a long sword on his back. He was the master of the mansion of the Sword Marquis, Jian Xinhong. 1 month ago, he had heard that Blood Feather Tower was inviting experts of all sects to watch the sacrifice of Jian Nantian to the heavens, and that Jian Wushuang had replied as well. Therefore, as a solitary expert, he had rushed over today. Blood Feather Tower. They were the overlords of the Qianzhong dynasty. I also heard that their tower master had reached divine transcendence. Jian Xinhong had a grave expression on his face, then he shook his head. God bless him. Chapter 247, Qi Luosheng. Except for those experts from the Heartless Island, there were many experts hidden in and around the void. In one corner of the void, more than 20 people floated in the air, and the lead one was Jian Wushuang's good friend Wang Yuan, the young master of the alchemy school. Half a year ago, he was in the initial gold core realm, but now he was the same as others floating in the air. His cultivation had reached the profound Yin Void realm. In half a year, he jumped from initial gold core realm to profound Yin Void realm. Clearly, his strength improved more greatly than Jian Wushuang's. The gathering is going to start. I suppose third brother must be somewhere nearby. Wang Yuan looked around. Many purple-robed figures floated behind him. Among them, there were more than 10 experts in the Yang Void realm, including some who had reached the peak of Yang Void realm and had comprehended the origin, like Dan Yi. Besides, among the purple-robed people, there was one different from them, who wore a grey robe. The grey-robed elder was just like an ordinary man without any breath of cultivation power, floating in the void similar to the others. Sixth elder. It all depends on you. Though Wang Yuan was the young master of the elixir school, he was humble in front of the grey-robed elder without having an air of importance. Because of my sensitive identity, all I could do is help him to escape. I will not save his father, the grey-robed elder said. Wang Yuan's face was solemn. Thank you, and please wait here. I hope things go smoothly, but if anything happens, please can sixth elder take third brother away whether he can save his father or not. At least keep him alive. I know. The grey-robed elder nodded slightly. At another corner of the void, there are more than 10 people coming from the Ice Nether Valley, and Su Ru was the leader. After half a year, Su Ru had improved a lot in strength and reached Yin Void. Additionally, those 12 people beside her were all of high cultivations, among which 8 were experts of Yin Void and 4 of Yang Void realm. Blood Feather Tower. Suru looked at the heartless island in the front with cold eyes. It's troublesome that there is one super expert of Blood Feather Tower who has reached divine transcendence. It was still snowing. There was heavy snow on the ground and the weather was cold. However, all of the experts' hearts were warm. As it approached noon, two figures suddenly showed up on the high platform at the front of the drill ground. Many people on the drill ground looked over at them. Both of them were elders. One had white hair, a beard, and strong breath, whereas another one had black hair and dashing eyebrows. As soon as they showed up, their strong breath spread out. Both of them had reached the peak of the Yang Void Realm. They are left and right messengers of the Blood Feather Tower. These two elders are over 100 years old. Tut, both of them are on the Heavenly Dragon list. One is ranked 14th and another 11th. Truly it is Blood Feather Tower. Many experts on the drill ground were discussing, and some of them looked at the left and right messengers with astonished eyes. Peak of the Yang Void Realm. It should be known that experts at this level were rare in the whole Qianzhong dynasty. Each of the 7 top clans only had one. Both the left and right messengers were ranked on the Heavenly Dragon list. They were top-level experts in the Qianzhong dynasty. Not long after the left and right messengers showed up, a bloody figure fell slowly in the void. He wore a bloody robe and a bloody wicked mask. His appearance attracted everybody's eyes, and as soon as he came to the high platform and sat down on the chair, the whole of the drill ground was silent. Silence. All eyes were concentrated on the bloody-robed figure. Is he the Tower Master of the Blood Feather Tower? What happened? The Tower Master of the Blood Feather Tower looks like an ordinary man. However, why can my eyes not help but look at an ordinary person? Why? Divine Transcendence. Sure enough, the Tower Master of the Blood Feather Tower has reached it. Many of the experts were secretly marveling at it. They were a little doubtful about it when they received the invitation, but now they knew that the Tower Master of Blood Feather Tower had really reached divine transcendence when they saw him. Only one who reached divine transcendence could control his breath so perfectly without losing any. Only such a man could attract everybody's eyes as soon as he showed up. The bloody and wicked Tower Master of Blood Feather Tower, Qi Luosheng, sat on the chair in the center and waved his hand slightly. A breeze blew, which brushed people's faces and made them feel at ease. Such powerful strength. Those knowledgeable experts of Yin-Yang Void Realm felt secretly astonished. Gentlemen. An evil voice, which one couldn't distinguish between a male or a female, spoke out from Qi Luosheng as his eyes swept over them. Welcome to the gathering. I have prepared some wines for you. Have a try. After he finished, a few maids in black walked out with flagons in their hands. Gentlemen, please. Qi Luosheng put a flagon in his hands. Then everybody on the drill ground drank the wine. After a cup of wine. Respectable Tower Master of the Blood Feather Tower. A strong man sitting in the front stood up and looked steadily at Qi Luosheng with a smile. I will not say social formulae this time. I come here because I want to know whether you have reached it. The truth is, you did it, and I want to know how you accomplished it. After all, I have been trapped in this stage for years. The strong man said with a fever of enthusiasm in his eyes. Owner Lei of Gladiator Arena? Qi Luosheng looked at him and smiled. No problem. It's also part of my plan for inviting you to come here. Even if you didn't ask, I would still tell you. But before that, I need to deal with one thing first. Qi Luosheng smiled coldly, and the elder with dashing eyebrows standing beside him glanced at his back. Bring him up. Chapter 248. Jian Wushuang showed up. A man in coarse clothes was brought to the drill ground under the watchful gazes of many experts. His hair was grey and his face had a mustache on it, showing that he had experienced many vicissitudes of life. People couldn't feel any spiritual power from him. When he was brought to the center of the drill ground, he raised his head slowly. Deep in his eyes, there was a boundless void. His eyes calmly swept from Qi Luosheng to left and right messengers and then to those experts present at the scene. After a glance, he lounged in everybody's presence and took out a pot of wine, drinking alone. Many surrounding experts felt perturbed by his behavior. He is Jian Nantian? Jian Wushuang's father? He is Jian Nantian? Quite ordinary. Almost all of those present had heard of Jian Nantian 1 month ago, thus they were curious about him. After they saw him, However, most of them secretly despised him and thought that he was quite meager. They didn't see anything special in him. If they didn't know his identity before, perhaps all of them would think he was just an ordinary man or even a beggar. I heard Jian Nanshan's name 1 month ago and knew that he would be executed in this gathering. I had never expected he was such a man. That's Jian Wushuang's father? Too ordinary. Even we couldn't tell apart him from a beggar on the street. Many people said that. Of course, there were some people, most of whom were knowledgeable experts, that narrowed their eyes when they saw Jian Nanshan. This man is not simple. Being stared at by so many people, even he will be killed by Blood Feather Tower, yet nothing can be seen in his eyes but calmness. Indifferent. He is so indifferent. It seems that the whole world is nothing to him. Experts from all of the sects, or people from Blood Feather Tower, they are all the same in his eyes. Indifferent. But in other words, he is aloof. Aloof. Upon hearing this word, the people became restless. They asked themselves if they were him, what would they do? All of them could not drink alone whilst indifferently ignoring all of the people present. Who could do that? This only suggested that Jian Nanshan was not simple. Young master, is that man your brother's father? Above the void, the grey-robed elder narrowed his eyes. What's wrong? Wang Yuan looked over at him questioningly. Nothing, I just feel that his state of mind is extraordinary. Having lived for 200 years, I couldn't catch him in a state of mind. It's a pity that his Dantian was destroyed, otherwise, he has the hope of reaching divine transcendence in the future, the grey-robed elder said seriously. Oh. Wang Yuan was surprised and he narrowed his eyes slightly. His father was locked with the spirit locking spell by Blood Feather Tower before. Now, they bring him to the drill ground without the soul-seizing formation, so clearly they are afraid that the third brother will not come. On the high platform of the drill ground on Heartless Island, the bloody and wicked figure of Qi Luosheng glanced at Jian Nanshan. Then his cold voice sounded on the drill ground. Gentlemen, you might not be familiar with this man. Let me introduce him to you. His name is Jian Nanshan, who was famous in the Qianzong dynasty years ago. However, he was caught by Blood Feather Tower, which took us a lot of effort, Qi Luosheng said with a cold smile. Besides, he's the father of someone that has made a big disturbance in the Qianzong dynasty. His son is Jian Wushuang, who is known as the first genius of Qianzong dynasty. Many experts on the drill ground were listening carefully. The Qianzong dynasty has not been tranquil in recent years, especially the Blood Feather Tower. We have been provoked many times, and someone even slaughtered the strongholds of Blood Feather Tower and killed experts there. I suppose that you do not need me to tell you who he is, Qi Luosheng said. Many experts on the drill ground were contemptuous of his words. They knew that it was Blood Feather Tower who frequently attempted to assassinate Jian Wushuang, therefore Jian Wushuang retaliated against them furiously. However, what Qi Luosheng said implied that it was Jian Wushuang who provoked Blood Feather Tower first. Qi Luosheng's cold eyes looked around, and he said in a deep voice, "Today I invite all of you coming to the Heartless Island to listen to my experience and comprehension. More importantly, it is to warn those sects who are ready to make trouble or benefit from the trouble. Blood Feather Tower is still number one. Being the overlord in the Qianzong dynasty, Blood Feather Tower won't allow anybody to provoke us. Anyone that provokes Blood Feather Tower will die." After saying that, a terrifying pressure emitted out from Qi Luosheng. The force covered the entirety of the drill ground. Many experts who were standing there suddenly looked solemn. Some of the weaker ones were even more horrified. However, as soon as Qi Luosheng finished speaking, suddenly, a loud and clear shout rose seemingly from the sky. "Anyone that provokes Blood Feather Tower will die." I don't think so. At the very moment of this voice rising, rumble, a stream of terrible killing intent rose from somewhere far away. Under the sweeping of slaughter origin, the horrible killing intent flew to the ninth heaven. Immediately, the whole heaven and earth turned silent. He's arrived. Has he really come? With a sword in hand, he is invincible. Jian Wushuang. The entire drill ground was in an uproar, and everybody's eyes turned to the source of the killing intent at that moment. It came from outside of Heartless Island, which was quite a distance away from it. Whoosh! 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 Lots of experts of Yin-Yang Void Realm flew up high and stood in the void to look at that direction. It comes from the back of the mountain. So far? Those Yin-Yang Void Realm experts all felt extremely shocked. Heartless Island was surrounded by a lake, and the lake was surrounded by mountains. The strong killing intent came from the back of a mountain, which was far away from Heartless Island. Even though it came from such a far place, it was shocking. Everybody looked at the direction where the killing intent came from, but what they saw was just the mountains in front of them. At this moment, bang! At the end of the horizon, a huge sword shadow suddenly appeared. Though it was far away from them, they felt shocked. Then the sword shadow split directly towards the mountain. What is he doing? All of them were perplexed. But the next moment, they saw that huge sword shadow splitting the mountain. Rumble! The mountain shook crazily. The next moment, it was cut in two. The mountain was split in half and a 10-meter wide road appeared. At the end of the split tunnel, a figure with a long sword on his back loomed over them. He was Jian Wushuang. With a sword in hand, he was second to none. Chapter 249, Making a Path by Splitting the Mountains and Lakes. Everybody watched in shock. It was unbelievable that a lofty mountain was split in half by a single sword stroke. Then, numerous people looked towards the far end of the path that was just created, where a figure with a long sword on the back suddenly appeared. Jian Wushuang. With a sword in hand, no one is his match. He is the most peerless genius in the history of our Qianzhong dynasty. The entire Heartless Island began to see the all at once. Although some of the participants in the meeting were young warriors, not just mentioning the young warriors, even experts who reached Yin Void or higher were excited. The young warriors were brought here by their elders to gain experience. Seeing Jian Wushuang, they were extremely excited. After all, Jian Wushuang was a real myth to them. Numerous young warriors were full of blind fanaticism and worship for Jian Wushuang. Thinking about it, who else could lead a small dynasty, like the Qianzhong dynasty, to defeat all the other northwest dynasties in the easternmost hunt? Who else could achieve the peak of the Yin Void Realm before the age of 20? Except, now he had already reached the Yang Void Realm. Who else could force Blood Feather Tower, an overlord in the Qianzhong dynasty, to set up such an unbelievable trap? No one. He was truly the strongest in the history of the Qianzhong dynasty. Jian Wushuang. In the corner of the drill ground, there was a handsome man who was holding his hands tightly. He was extremely excited, and his eyes were full of fanaticism. However, seeing the handsome man in such a state, Jian Meng'er, who was standing beside him, felt even worse. The gladiator arena gathered a great number of experts, with Bai Chong among them. He looked out towards Jian Wushuang, with his hand touching the left sleeve that was missing an arm. He smiled and muttered, it was worth supporting the birth of such a peerless genius, even at the cost of an arm. Jian Xinhong stood in the field where the solitary experts gathered. He was already looking at Jian Wushuang as well, with an extremely mixed expression that was excited, pleasantly surprised, and satisfied, but most of all, worried. Be sure to survive this fight no matter what. Jian Xinhong snarled deep in his heart. Third Bro Wang Yuan and Su Ru were hiding somewhere in the surroundings of Heartless Island. After seeing Jian Wushuang, their eyes began to glisten. Jian Wushuang stole all the spotlight. Everybody present had fixed their eyes on Jian Wushuang, who had appeared at the far end of this path. Jian Wushuang slightly lifted his head as a surging killing intent began to rush out and fill the area. He looked around and took in everything that was happening on Heartless Island. Then, he began moving forward. Dung! As soon as he stepped forward and placed his foot on the ground, an intangible wave instantly rippled out. At the same time, a light sound was heard. However, that sound quickly became louder and louder. Dung! 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 Jian Wushuang walked forward, one step after another, at a fairly slow pace. Every time he took a step, his killing intent grew a little stronger. Jian Wushuang attracted the attention of all the people on Heartless Island. Soon, he passed through the path and made his way to the lakeside. But he didn't stop there. Instead, he directly stepped on the lake without any hesitation. The instant his foot touched the surface, a rumbling sound was heard and the whole lake instantly became turbulent. It looked like the water was being crazily engulfed by its surroundings. Within a minute, only a huge ravine, with no visible bottom, remained where the lake was previously. It was as if the whole lake had been cut away. The ravine was several dozen meters wide, and even though water was surging into the ravine from the lake, it was obvious that this ravine would not be filled in a short amount of time. Seeing this, the experts on Heartless Island couldn't help squinting. At this moment, everybody was reminded of a saying. The mountains will split asunder, the rivers will run dry, and the skies will be stained with blood as swords point towards the demon horde. Among them, the first two already occurred, so the next step should be staining the sky with blood. Jian Wushuang didn't stop after he cut through the lake. He continued walking slowly towards Heartless Island. At this exact moment, dozens of figures violently glided close from the nearby area. "Ha ha, third bro, I'm here to help you." Bubbling laughter reverberated throughout the area as a heavily built fat guy appeared at Jian Wushuang's side, followed by more than 20 purple-robed figures that landed behind the fat man in succession. All of them radiated a monstrous aura. Among the purple-robed figures, more than 10 were experts in the Yang Void Realm, while the rest were at the peak of the Yin Void Realm. In the Qianzong dynasty, this battle formation could only be called horrifying. Are they from the alchemy school? Qi Luosheng was standing on a raised platform on the Heartless Island. After watching Wang Yuan and his comrades appear, he slightly squinted his eyes, then he smirked and said, "The alchemy school and Holy Emperor Palace restrain each other, so it's impossible for them to bring in their top experts. They are just some ordinary experts in the Yin-Yang Void Realm. What can they do?" However, as soon as Qi Luosheng uttered these words, 10 more figures glided close and landed behind Jian Wushuang. "Third bro," Su Ru lightly said to Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. "Ice Nether Valley?" Seeing this, Qi Luosheng felt a little bit shocked, but it was still not enough to make him feel fear. "Jian Wushuang, we are here to support you." A deep roar suddenly reverberated throughout the area, followed by 6 people gliding close to Jian Wushuang. It was a group led by a white-robed lady. After she appeared, the entire Heartless Island began seething. "Palace Master White? Palace Master White from Dragon Palace? Palace Master White came in person. Does Dragon Palace intend to get involved?" The people present were all top experts from various sects, so one glance was enough for them to recognize Palace Master White. Bai Ling Qi Luosheng's face instantly darkened and he asked, "Does Dragon Palace want to join this fight?" "Ha ha." Palace Master Black, who had arrived a long time ago, responded to Qi Luosheng with a light smile. "Tower Master Qi, you misunderstood. Bai Ling and the 4 previous temple masters of Dragon Palace announced their resignation yesterday. Now they are just Golden Dragon ambassadors of Golden Dragon Palace. They have little relationship with our Dragon Palace." "Oh." Qi Luosheng frowned. At this point, many experts had an odd look on their faces. Palace Master White resigned from Dragon Palace? Unbelievable. It seems like everyone is here. The young master of the alchemy school, people from Ice Nether Valley, and Bai Ling from Dragon Palace. "Whatever, you guys saved me the time of looking for you later," Qi Luosheng said with a cold look in his eyes. By now, Palace Master White and her comrades had already moved behind Jian Wushuang. "Jian Wushuang." Palace Master White gave Jian Wushuang a deep glance. She was followed by the 4 previous temple masters from Dragon Palace and Jian Wushuang's good friend, Yi Rufeng. Jian Wushuang had not said a word since he appeared. He just stared at the Heartless Island in front of him and kept walking ahead without a pause on his steps. At the same time, the killing intent continued to surge out of his body, growing stronger and stronger. Jian Wushuang passed through the lake and stepped onto Heartless Island, slowly walking towards the drill ground center. Finally, he appeared in front of Qi Luosheng and the experts of Blood Feather Tower. At this point, Jian Wushuang stopped walking, then lifted his head and slowly scanned the crowd with a cold look in his eyes. "When I was chased by Blood Feather Tower and forced to jump into the abyss 3 years ago, I said, 'The day I return is the day all you demons die.' And today is the day Blood Feather Tower is destroyed." Chapter 250. The Fierce Battle Begins. His cold words reverberated throughout the sky over the Heartless Island, catching the experts on the Heartless Island by surprise. Today was the day Blood Feather Tower would be destroyed. With such a small group? How dare you say that? It's ridiculous. Qi Luosheng sneered, followed by several whoosh sounds. A large number of figures suddenly glided close and then landed near the center of the island. These figures all wore a black robe and a purple mask. It was a group headed by the left and right messengers from Blood Feather Tower. At a glance, the number was roughly 100. So many people? They are all purple-masked assassins. They are all experts in the yin-yang void realm. Is this the true strength of Blood Feather Tower? Seeing such a battle formation, the experts from the various sects were all shocked. Anyone in the yin-yang void realm could definitely be considered a top expert in the Qianzong dynasty. Some top sects of the Qianzong dynasty only had a few of these experts at most. However, at the very beginning of this battle, Blood Feather Tower already dispatched about 100. Even though most of these purple-masked assassins were only at the yin void realm, the number of yang void realm experts was still more than 10. It was a fierce and magnificent battle formation. Wang Yuan glanced at Jian Wushuang and then said, with a serious tone, "We can handle these people." "Okay." Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. "None of you guys will leave here today," Qi Luosheng said coldly. He slightly lifted his palm and immediately signaled for the battle to begin. The instant he lowered his hand, the purple-masked assassins immediately took action. "Go!" As soon as Wang Yuan snarled, all the experts from the Alchemy School, Ice Nether Valley, and Dragon Palace violently rushed forward as well. At this moment, Wang Yuan stepped forward as well. In only an instant, the two groups had already engaged themselves in battle on the Heartless Island. The battle began in an instant. Rumble. As soon as the experts collided, several horrible roars were instantly heard. Along with those sounds, violent spiritual power was crazily sweeping in every direction, leading Heartless Island toward its own destruction. Run, run. Get out of here right away. Hurry, before you get caught up in it. Hurry, leave Heartless Island. At this moment, the experts from the various sects were rushing to leave the island one after another because none of them wanted to be involved in the battle. They halted once they made it to the island's exterior, but their eyes were still fixated on the battlefield. In terms of quantity, Blood Feather Tower had more experts than Jian Wushuang. But in terms of the strength, Jian Wushuang's side was much stronger. Among the experts of the Alchemy School and Ice Nether Valley, more than 15 were at the Yang Void Realm. The remaining were all at the peak of the Yin Void Realm. As for Dragon Palace, although there were only 6 experts, 3 were in the Yang Void Realm, including Palace Master White, while the rest were at the peak of the Yin Void Realm. In other words, among the experts on Jian Wushuang's side, the weakest ones were at the peak of the Yin Void Realm. However, on the Blood Feather Tower's side, even though they had a great number of experts, most were somewhere between the initial Yin Void Realm and the profound Yin Void Realm. Their number of experts who achieved the peak of the Yin Void Realm or the Yang Void Realm was less than Jian Wushuang's side. Because of this, the overall strength of both sides was very close, so it was extremely fierce as soon as the battle began. The experts on both sides were furiously fighting, and it was hard to tell which side had the upper hand. Even though the battle was off to a violent start, Jian Wushuang had not moved a single step. Not just him, Qi Luosheng had not moved either. He was just standing there on the raised platform. Jian Wushuang glanced at the battlefield in the front of him, then turned and looked toward his father, Jian Nantian. Currently, Jian Nantian was lying on the ground and drinking wine alone. His eyelids didn't even flicker until he noticed Jian Wushuang looking at him. Then he gave Jian Wushuang a glance as well. They looked at each other, without needing to say any words. A second later, Jian Wushuang finally began to move. He took one step after another, walking directly towards Jian Nantian. However, when he was about to take his third step, he was stopped by a whizzing sound, and 3 figures suddenly appeared in front of him. Ha! After looking at the 3 figures that suddenly appeared, Jian Wushuang halted and the expression on his face darkened. The 3 were not assassins from Blood Feather Tower, but he knew one of them. Mo Lingtian. Jian Wushuang coldly stared at the vicious-eyed man, who was carrying a long sword on his back and seemed to be the leader. The law enforcement elder of the Wilderness Sword sect, Mo Lingtian. Jian Wushuang previously met Mo Lingtian during the Eastermost hunt. At that time, Mo Lingtian lent his hand to Blood Feather Tower against him. Without Wang Yuan's support at that time, Jian Wushuang wouldn't have survived Mo Lingtian's attack. Jian Wushuang. Mo Lingtian had a slight sneer on his face as he blocked Jian Wushuang's path. There were two people following behind him. One was a man and the other was a lady. Both of them carried a sharp sword on their back. Furthermore, their aura was no weaker than Mo Lingtian's. The peak of the Yang Void Realm. Needless to say, the two behind Mo Lingtian were experts at the peak of the Yang Void Realm. So the three in front of Jian Wushuang were all at the peak of the Yang Void Realm. Wilderness Sword Sect. They are from the Wilderness Sword Sect. The Wilderness Sword Sect is one of the top 8 sects in the Nanyang continent. Why are they entangling themselves in Blood Feather Tower's matters? It is already very difficult to deal with Blood Feather Tower. Now, unexpectedly, the Wilderness Sword Sect has joined in as well. The experts who were watching the battle from outside of the Heartless Island already recognized Mo Lingtian and his comrades. Everybody started to feel sad for Jian Wushuang. No matter what, the Wilderness Sword Sect was one of the top 8 sects in the Nanyang continent. Jian Wushuang, we meet again, Mo Lingtian said while staring at Jian Wushuang coldly. Yes, Jian Wushuang slightly nodded and said, I said it during the Eastermust hunt, there will be ample time for us to meet again. But I didn't expect it to happen so quickly. However, since you are already here, let's put an end to our animosities today. It's time to finish it. But it will be me who finishes you, Mo Lingtian said. In no time his eyes turned cold. Shua. Suddenly, the space in front of Jian Wushuang was cut, after which Mo Lingtian appeared, holding a sharp long sword in his hand. At this moment, his long sword was already slashing out at an amazing speed, like a bolt of lightning. However, Jian Wushuang just stood there as if nothing had happened, not making a single move. Go to hell! Mo Lingtian yelled and grinned, his eyes turning even icier. The long sword directly passed through Jian Wushuang's neck, but there wasn't a single drop of blood. Ha! Mo Lingtian was stunned because he had perceived that his sword did not touch anything. It was a residual shadow. The object that this long sword just passed through was not Jian Wushuang, just his residual shadow. You want to kill me? An extremely cold voice suddenly came from Mo Lingtian's side. What? Mo Lingtian was shocked and looked to the side, where a figure who he didn't expect to see had appeared. What's more, a tremendous killing intent was radiating from this figure and focusing on him. Do you think trash like you can kill me? No sooner had Jian Wushuang spoke, than he threw out a slap. The palm, filled with slaughter origin, directly moved towards Mo Lingtian's face. And with that final, reality-shattering strike that severed the flow of time itself, we conclude Chapter 250. Wushuang has done it. The 3 primal sovereigns have fallen. The base of the Eclipse Pillar is clear, and for the first time in years, Wushuang can see his father suspended in the crystal heart of the tower. But the rescue has triggered the final failsafe. The divine sovereign has descended from his throne. No more puppets. No more generals. The final battle for the fate of the higher realms is about to begin. Join us next time for chapters 251 through 255, as the sovereign of all heavens unveils his true form and Wushuang is forced to sacrifice his own cultivation to break his father's chains. Thank you for being part of this 250-chapter journey with PandaAudioBooks. If you've enjoyed the ride so far, hit that like button, subscribe, and tell us in the comments, what was your favorite moment of the first 250 chapters?